I'm Devin Bush, the co-owner and brewer of Wild Bloom Beer in Littleton, New Hampshire, and this is the Brewer to Brewer podcast from All About Beer. My guest is Rob Lovatt, is the brewing director and head brewer of the Thornbridge Brewery, and he is here for a conversation that goes beyond the brew house and into topics that matter to brewing professionals and curious beer drinkers. First, please visit theallaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at All About Beer. And to support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. We'll get into this conversation in just a moment, but first, this message.
Today's episode is brought to you by Stomped Stickers, your wallet-friendly partner in custom printing. Whether you're a small, independent, or larger franchise, Stomp's got the low minimums, bulk savings, and free shipping to help you save without skimping on quality. Join the thousands of breweries already cashing in on Stomp's value-packed service and get 15% off of your first order with code FIRSTRUN. Golden honey, sweetbread, cereal grains, slightly nutty with subtle flavors and aromas of hay. Rahr North Star Pils is a beautiful base malt for any beer style, but it shines particularly bright in classic lagers like Rev Pils from Revolution Brewing out of Chicago, Illinois. North Star Pils also plays a role in award-winning West Coast Pilsners and Imperial IPAs for Ghost Town Brewing in Oakland, California. RahrBSG has the goods. Learn more at RahrBSG.com.
Okay, let's get into it. A bit about my guest today. Rob Lovatt is the brewing director and head brewer of the Thornbridge Brewery. He began his brewing career at Meantime Brewery in London in 2000, spending 9 years there at the forefront of the craft beer movement in the UK. While head brewer of Meantime, working alongside Alistair Hook, Rob traveled to Bavaria frequently to visit such breweries as Schönrammer to develop his brewing skills. In 2009, Rob left Meantime to help commission Camden Town Brewery before moving to Thornbridge in 2010. Thornbridge Brewery is where Rob really found his home and quickly set to establishing a culture of brewing excellence. Rob and his brewing team are passionate about brewing a diverse range of beers of the best quality with a particular focus on attention to detail and leaving no stone unturned in the pursuit of brewing the perfect pint. He is a huge advocate of using Maris Otter in the brewhouse, a heritage barley variety, as well as utilizing whole cone hops in the brewing process. Heavy priming and fermenting with Thornbridge unique cask yeast strain are also hallmarks of Rob's ale brewing signature. While he loves to brew and drink British cask ale, Rob's favorite beer will always be a Bavarian lager, and he ensures that all Thornbridge's lagers are matured up to 6 weeks with all the ingredients carefully sourced from Germany. All right, Rob, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So first off, like you said, you started your brewing career at Meantime, but I think I read somewhere that you actually started at Scotch in Newcastle first.
Yeah, I was briefly there. It was the wines and spirits department, and they used to bring this wine tankered in from all over the world, and then it was packaged into small pack, PET bottles, glass bottles, and supposedly had the fastest bag in the box line in the world.
Well, that's bragging
rights. That was a long time ago, yeah.
So now, did you stumble into that because of location to Sunderland, or was it more of that you wanted to get into the alcohol industry?
No, I wanted to get into the alcohol industry, yeah, but I was up that way, and it just kind of made, it was so long ago now. I can't really remember my sort of thought process, but it was a good year. I worked there for a year, and it was a really good year. I think one thing it taught me a lot about was QA, quality assurance. And I've always applied that throughout my brewing career to it sounds a bit boring, QA, but it does really ensure that you get a consistent product at the end of the day.
Yeah, for me, that was one of the things that made me want to talk to you, is that I think that there's a few hallmarks for you guys that make me think that you have one of the best QA QC programs, I think, around. And I think that would be the fact that you guys have cask. I don't know the numbers, but one of the more widely distributed casks in the UK.
Yeah, we're pretty popular. Yeah, I mean, the cask scene sort of changing. I would say it's probably in decline overall, but for us, it's increasing. And for those guys that make good cask beer, it's definitely increasing. And there does seem to be a north-south divide.
Okay.
Northern England, the cask beer seems to be increasing. And in southern England, I know that they are struggling a little bit. And I think a lot of that's to do with the fact that pub companies and pubs don't really want to produce cask beer because they see it as a bit of a pain in the arse. But for me, it's part of our heritage, and it's so unique to Britain that we should really embrace it. And I wasn't a cask ale brewer until I came to Thornbridge, but I grasped it with both hands, and we've our cask beer just goes from strength to strength, and we're just producing more and more of it, which is brilliant.
That's awesome. And so do you think that split is it hospitality companies that are, making that switch to say we only want keg because it's less for the landlord to manage?
Yeah, I mean, you'll go into pubs sometimes, and you'll just see sort of the cask. There is cask, the pumps, but pump like the clip is what like the equivalent of a badge really, and it's just turned around, and there's no cask beer, and it's like, well, and there's just sort of and we don't have the diversity that you guys do, I think, with beer. In keg, you'll go into some pubs, and cask is really the only sort of craft offering, as you could call it, and the rest of the keg beer is just not particularly good at all. So it's a shame when that happens. But I do think there is an element of landlords and pub companies just finding it a faff, because it does take a bit of there's quite a bit of care and love that's got to go into looking after cask beer to make sure it's like top notch.
Yeah, a lot more training to that than just hooking up a keg.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
I mean, go on.
Oh no, so with that, now do you guys do training in the pubs, or do you kind of just only try and distribute to pubs that have someone that can manage that appropriately?
I mean, we don't really offer, we haven't got facilities to offer training to, wherever we sell it to, because anyone can buy it. But we do in our own pubs and make sure that our cellar team, bar staff are trained and know what we expect to produce, for it to be served as it should be.
How many pubs does Thornbridge have now? Because that's a difference from like the UK to here, where we don't have tied houses where you have your brewery, you have your tasting room. Some you can have multiple tasting rooms. Like in where I am in New Hampshire, you're allowed one facility outside of your production facility to sell direct to consumers. But most places you can only sell out of your brewery. So that's a difference in kind of how we can sell.
Yeah, so so Thornbridge itself, we've got one called the Greystones, one called the Stag, and Hallamshire House. There are three in Sheffield, and then we've got a partnership with a good friend of mine called Jamie Hawksworth, who owns Pivovar, and they've got their own pubs, but they wanted to go into partnership with us to showcase our beers, and we've got we're still opening pubs with those guys, and they are brilliant pubs. The spend on the fit out is, there's a good spend on the fit out, and it's just a great drinking experience. And we really, push the cask beer there. And we've got one in Leeds, one in Birmingham, one in New York. We've just opened one in Sheffield, and we're going to open one in London shortly as well. So the one in the capital, I think, is going to be particularly exciting because there's not so much. I don't think our cask beer is not really penetrated into London so much, but I think it'll be a real destination hub for people to go to experience cask beer as it should be.
That's a very exciting venture there to have that right there in London versus where you guys are a little bit further north.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree.
So jumping back to the QCQA part, now when you got to Thornbridge, did you have to kind of start the QCQA program that, like I think you guys are well known for now, or was that something that was established?
No, it wasn't really established. So there was myself and a guy called Keelan at the time. We both joined at the same time. He came from Little Creatures, I came from Meantime. So we both kind of had we'd grown up with QA systems. So we just sort of morphed the two together, really. What I did at Meantime, what he did at Little Creatures, and then we came up. And it's constantly evolving. You have a mistake, even to this day. And then you make changes to your QA system to stop it happening again. And myself and our senior brewing team, we're all constantly looking at the QA. And if there's things that are superfluous to requirements, that people just filling things out for the sake of it, then we cut that out. So it's constantly evolving, but everyone has to buy into it. And then there's it's got to be reissued, the QA and the standard operational procedure, etc. But like I say, it does seem a bit boring, but it does protect the beer and it protects the brewers as well, so there's no mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's the difference in what makes a good brewery a great brewery.
Yeah.
I really do think that's kind of the hallmark of somebody puts that program first on making sure that consistency and quality is there, makes the difference of just a regular brewery into something that, can grow and flourish and be good.
I think you can get away with like very little QA in a brew, like, if there's just two of you and and no shifts or anything like that, and there's no sign out but once you get to a certain scale, I think QA's it's imperative.
Yeah, like for me, I'm a one-man brewing operation, and I make sure I have enough checks and balances and all that kind of stuff in place, and I have hallmarks that I need to fit on everything and benchmarks on everything. And I think as I grow, that I want to make sure I continue to grow that program as well, not just keep it where it's at.
Yeah. I can't imagine running a brewery without an oxygen meter now. It'd be scary. So
especially in packaged product. When packaged product is out there, that's everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, for packaged product, how much is your guys' breakdown between the differences? Because you're now canning, which is relatively new for you.
Yeah, I can't remember when. I can't remember exactly when we got at the canning line. I think it was pre-COVID for sure, but it really saved us during COVID having been able to produce small pack. And during COVID, we were just flat out with the canning line sort of ran 8-9 hours a day.
Yeah.
As where now it's probably running like 4 hours a day and not every day. So there's been a shift back to keg and cask,
which I think is great because that shows a difference for on-premise drinking.
Yeah.
Here we're seeing a little bit of a split. I think it's regionally different here because we're so big on who's on-premise is doing well, who's off-premise is doing well. But generally, I think across ours, on-premise isn't doing as well as it should be. Never returned to pre-COVID numbers, but for us here, we're seeing it doing well in New England specifically for us.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, but it's different for you guys, isn't it? The American market is very different to the UK market.
Well, I think it's different in one way for me that I always saw is that the price of a pint, at least when I was there, was almost the same at grocery than it was at the pub.
Oh, in the UK?
Yeah.
The supermarket, you can get beer for next to nothing really, particularly sort of like the cheap.
Yeah.
But I suppose the more specialist beers, I guess you'll pay a bit more for them, but it's still expensive to go out for a beer these days.
Yeah,
and that's because the government charges so much duty. The government wants their cut. It's not easy for brewers out there.
No, it certainly is. And you guys get taxed very differently than we do because we're on volume. You're on ABV.
Yeah.
And that really, I think, dictates a lot of how the market grows.
Yeah, you get a lot of low ABV products for sure. Yeah.
Which is nice because, it's also great that we have, that I think having a lot of those high ABV ones really pushed the craft beer segment here in its early days.
Yeah.
I think it really helped that grow and differentiate from the big guys. But now we're seeing that flush back to low now that people are, understanding that they don't have to drink a 9% beer.
Yeah.
Which is kind of really nice. So also you guys do a lot of collabs seem to be a big part of the push and focus for you guys. And you guys have done some with some of the best and biggest breweries in the world. How do you kind of determine the beers you want to brew and how you want to do that and where you want to focus?
I suppose the best collaborations are where there's quite a bit of input from both parties, and the decisions are easy with there's no real conflict. So if someone wants to do something completely different to what the other person wants to do, it's generally quite organic, and brewers generally pretty sort of gregarious people that can get along, and there's not so many egos to deal with. I think so. It's usually quite a natural process.
I think I really like the one with Budvar of doing the like a Czech lager with all British ingredients.
Yeah, I really love that one too. That was, I mean, it's amazing that beer is lagered for so long and so freely available and at such a good price. It's phenomenal. I've always been a big fan of it. And Adam, their team came over, their senior brewing team, and we don't really decoct our beers. We can't. We learned to decoct when we were collaborating with them because they were insistent that they wanted it to be decocted because that's how they do. That's how they make Czech beers. So it was a bit of a challenge. It adds a bit more onto the brew day, so the late shift brewers are not always that happy if there's.
Sure.
It's just the way it goes. The beer always comes first, and I've always liked the idea of brewing beers with 100% with British ingredients. And Goldings really lends itself. They're not too far away from their European cousins in terms of flavor profile. I don't think.
I would absolutely agree with that. There's a lot of crossover there in profile and alpha.
Yeah. They're my preferences. The sort of more noble hops are. I mean, I know there's debate over what's noble and what's not noble, but I just prefer those hops that are more subtle. Really, I do like some American hops, but I'm not a big fan of. And I know it's just my personal preference. I don't like Mosaic and Citra and things like that. They're not
I'm not a because for Wild Bloom we brew with 99% ingredients grown in New England.
Yeah.
We don't have those varietals that are grown here at all. Like Citra and Mosaic are proprietary to places out in the Pacific Northwest, so they don't grow here at all. So we get a totally different, unique growing climate and more of the heritage like heritage U.S. varietals. Are grown here, and it's really, really lovely, but it's not the element and the flavor profile you'd expect from the big, bold out west ones. So
what sort of hops do you get there then?
So we get a lot of nugget, which nugget here actually goes really like candied lime, kind of lime zesty. We get a lot of Cascade is grown, a lot of Cascade, which is great, but it does not taste anything like the Pacific Northwest Cascade. There's another one that people are bringing out, Tea Maker, and that one I've really been loving. It's actually a Zira Alpha one, and so it's got lovely, lovely character, like a lot of black tea notes, but it's almost like tangerine and black tea.
Yeah,
and it's awesome. But that's not grown in volume anywhere else, so I'm really happy we have it here to utilize on stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, last time I went to the States would have been pre-COVID, probably just before COVID, and I was a little bit disappointed that all the beers that I tasted, they all seemed to be just stuffed full of Mosaic and Citra and were hazy. I felt that the brewers had kind of lost that the range of beers that they used to do. I don't know what it's like now or whether Mosaic is still ruling strong.
Much better now. And you're actually on the right podcast to hate on Mosaic. John hates Mosaic, so that's perfect. So this is that's actually something I think you hit it probably at the peak of the Citra Mosaic world when you were here pre-COVID.
Yeah.
We've seen it shift a lot. We're seeing less of the 8 to 12 IPAs on tap only, seeing a lot less of that, a lot more varietal. I mean, a lot of traditional lagers are now popping up far more, and a lot of hoppy stuff, but in the hoppy lager realm. That's been probably, I think, the fastest growing piece here is the hoppy lagers, where you're getting a cleaner hop note, less saturated, less muddy, and not just one note.
Yeah, because what I think there's definitely some really. I mean, I do love Cascade and Centennial. And Chinook, but also there's some American hops that I think are underutilized. For example, Crystal. I'm a big fan of Crystal.
I just did a fresh hop IPA with Crystal, and it was killer.
Yeah. You just can't go wrong with that hop. It's quite a unique, sort of subtle, but it's there kind of hop.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that's one that we'll see more of, especially now that I think people are starting to push the other varietals a little bit more and wanting their beer to taste different. They don't want to taste like all the others. At least I'm hoping. Like the people I'm talking to are doing that, and maybe that's hopeful, wishful on my end. But it seems like that's more.
Yeah. Is there any other varieties that seem to be always Mosaic's still going to be there, do you think, at the top of the tree?
I think Citra's always going to be king because I think there's enough consumers. Like, I think Citra got out there into the consumer world. So I have people that come up and ask me at my bar, like right in the tap room, and say, "What beers do you have with Citra?" And I'm like, "Well, why do you know that name?
Yeah.
Like, why do you know that? Like, there's no reason for you to be asking for a varietal by name." Because no one comes up and says, "Do you have any Maris Otter beers?"
Yeah.
Like people don't say that. So I don't know why that became such the thing, but that really hit with the consumer. So I think we're going to continue to see Citra reign king, some other varieties pop up, but it doesn't seem like any of the newer varieties since those kind of came out have hit in the same way. Like Strata, people are liking Strata, but it didn't do the same thing. So I don't think we're going to see another one quite dominate like Citra Mosaic.
Yeah, Crush is one that we've experimented a little bit with. I don't know if you've tried that one.
I have. I've tried some beers with it, but I haven't personally brewed with it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite unique in a lot of ways. But like you said, I don't think it'll trump Citra or Mosaic.
The other one that came out that everybody thought was going to be the next big thing for a quick second was Sabro.
Yeah,
and then everybody hated it.
Yeah. No, I can't stand that hop. No, and I don't get on with that at all. I don't see why anyone would. Even very small sort of percentage of the hop list, you can still sense it's there.
You still know it's there. Yeah, it's not nice.
No, it's not nice. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. But I'm a big advocate of a sort of, like I say, people call them noble varieties, but just traditional, English and German varieties. I mean, they're trying to push modern German varieties, but I'm still wanting to sit there with the originals like the Hallertauers, the Mittelbrewers, and the traditions.
I've used a lot of the newer, newer now, saying newer, like the Mandarinas and the like that kind of thing. Those aren't new. I mean, they're new, but they're not new anymore.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed making those. But those, I mean, that's where I think the hoppy lager comes in a little bit. Where people are doing a lot of, really like the West Coast Pils here is now the new style that everyone's loving.
Oh, is it? And how would you describe West
It's
Coast
essentially just a super dry hopped Pils. It's kind of like the relative, a less bitter Italian Pils.
Okay. Yeah.
If you just basic Pils with like nice dry hop to it.
Okay. And it doesn't have to be, it can be any hop in it.
It can be any hop. A lot of them, like the New Zealand Pils now is a new thing here, which is just a West Coast Pils, New Zealand with New Zealand hop. So we're just giving that kind of definition of things.
Yeah. I was snowboarding in Austria just before Christmas, and the year before we were snowboarding in France, and I was just so disappointed because French beer, there is some good French beer, but it wasn't readily available in the resort. But in Austria, there was in every sort of bar up the slope and down in the town in the evening, it was either Truma Pils or Schneiderweiss were the two main ones. So I was kind of in beer heaven there, really.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
But I didn't realise that Truma Pils, because I was talking to our production manager about it, that he was adamant that Truma Pils in the US was different to Truma, and in Europe. But they're the same company, aren't they, or an offshoot of them? Or
they're the same company as far as I know. I mean, I don't get it here being on the East Coast because they're California, and I know it goes to the Midwest, but it doesn't come all the way out here. But they brew a lot of it. But it's an interesting one that gets a lot of attention.
Yeah,
on the other side of the country.
Okay, really good beer though. I really
enjoy it. Yeah, I think if we were to get Truma Pils here, the last time I got it, it was imported. It didn't come from the California brewery.
Okay. Yeah. And someone mentioned to me that it had German Amarillo in it. Whether that's true or not, I didn't detect it or not. I didn't.
Well, they have. There's a new dry hop Truma, I think. So that may be the Amarillo one.
Oh, that's what. I think this was just the straightforward one that I was tasting.
Which is lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that even from the West Coast here, they started canning it, not like so. I think it's very different than the green bottle ones.
Hmm.
So I think that's
Okay.
a different. I don't know if anything's different about it, but green bottle versus can, you're not getting the light struck side of it. So they really stuck to the green bottle though.
Yeah, I mean, last time I was over there, I was enjoying the Truma a lot. That and what's the Allagash?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to avoid the Mosaic and the Citrus. They were my go-to beers. They were just tasting really good, and obviously Sierra as well.
Which is actually funny. It actually leads me into one of my other questions for you. So when we talk about like darlings of the industry, people that are the
Mm.
example of how to do things here, I think if you talk to most brewers, they're going to pick Allagash.
Yeah,
Allagash is kind of the darling about like most of the beer industry. It's kind of one of those ones that generally can do no wrong in the way they treat
okay.
employees, with what they put out. And there's a little bit of that, I think, to Thornbridge.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, we
Yeah.
are very sort of family orientated brewery, and we will always strive to make the best beer we can, and I think everyone sort of buys into that, and everyone understands that we've got a great reputation. So yeah, there is an element of that for sure. Yeah, in the UK with Thornbridge.
Which I think it puts you in a unique position to kind of lead the way in the industry.
Hmm.
Is there anything specifically like towards that you find that because you guys did it, that other people now want to do it?
I'm not sure really. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose yeah. I mean, the people know that for our lagers, for example, that we make great lagers, and we often get a lot of people asking us to brew lagers for them. But we generally haven't got the capacity really. So because it's hard to brew a lager well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that goes into actually the perfect kind of transition to my next question with like like the UK has such a rich brewing history compared to the US.
Hmm.
And that's where, we can brew any style we want. We can do whatever we want. It doesn't really matter. You have people throwing fried chicken into beer. So that,
Hmm.
anything can happen here as far as beer. There, you're a little bit more restricted on traditional and this and that. Has there been pushback towards you guys producing more lagers? Or is that something, like you said, people actually really do want more of?
I think people want more of it. Yeah, because the problem I think with craft lager is you can go and try it. It puts your average new average drinker off that's not really a craft drinker. They'll go out and they'll try a lager, and it's a craft one, and it's full of wacky hops, and it's not really what they want. The lagers,
Yep.
I'm not saying flavorless, but it's a different kettle of fish to an IPA, and people generally who are lager drinkers don't want a lager that tastes like an IPA. So what we offer is a traditional Bavarian lager, which is damn sight better than all the sort of mass-produced lagers that we get in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not craft either, really. So I think there's a demand for that kind of beer.
We're very much so seeing that here as well. Like our
Yeah.
traditional standard lagers sell very well, our Pilsners, and even
Hmm.
for us, like here, our American light lagers sell very well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
heavy corn kind of thing sell very well for us.
Yeah, it's an interesting style. We brewed a Mexican lager,
Yeah,
which is probably similar, isn't it? Which I think the
very
maize,
similar. Yeah.
it's an adjunct, but it shouldn't be frowned upon. It's just different. It definitely brings something to the table.
No, I actually really like to use it in other styles as well. Like I do
Yeah.
a saison that has a lot of maize in it,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that like it shines through, adds this unique little like grainy sweetness to it that you don't normally get in that style.
Yeah, we did the same after we tried. After we brewed that Mexican lager, I tried it in a couple of our cask beers as well, just for something a little bit different. And yeah, it's certainly a good addition.
Great. So we are going to take a short break for this message, then come right back for more of this conversation with Rob Lovatt, is the brewing director and head brewer of Thornbridge Brewery.
Golden honey, sweetbread, cereal grains, slightly nutty with subtle flavors and aromas of hay. Rahr North Star Pils is a beautiful base malt for any beer style, but it shines particularly bright in classic lagers like Rev Pils from Revolution Brewing out of Chicago, Illinois. North Star Pils also plays a role in award-winning West Coast Pilsners and Imperial IPAs for Ghost Town Brewing in Oakland, California. RahrBSG has the goods. Learn more at RahrBSG.com. Here's a money-saving tip from StompStickers.com. They're version discounts. Ordering different beer labels in the same size, shape, and material? Just add everything to your cart and you'll automatically get a discount. Get 15% off of your first order with code FIRSTRUN.
Welcome back. So Rob, yep, thanks yet again. And so you kind of let off on trying different things with cask beer. Now, do you when people think cask here, generally speaking, I think this is shifting. It was more of an experimentation side of let's take our regular stout and we're going to throw a bunch of nonsense into it. And we're going to give it to you as this thing with 15 different flavors in it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Which is not really, obviously what cask is meant to be.
No.
And so for you guys, how much of the experimentation side of your cask, or is it really you stick to the traditional things? And obviously Jaipur is everywhere in cask now. But do you stick to the traditional ones in cask, or do you ever try and put like any of your lagers or anything on cask and see how that does?
No, I wouldn't really put lagers in cask. I think it doesn't really suit the style. I think it needs to be carbonated and cold. I don't think it'd suit cask beer. I know some people do that, but it's not for me.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah. But do we experiment? Oh, so we made a cucumber beer. I remember that was pretty cool. And that was as simple as brewing a cask beer and just putting a cucumber that was chopped up into a cask. And I remember when we first brewed a cucumber beer, I was kind of thinking, this is never going to work, but it's actually a really, really good style. But it's a hard sell unless someone's tried it, because they just think cucumber beer's got to be horrible, but it's absolutely not. I think in a light summer ale with a cucumber addition to it, it's a phenomenal beer.
I think you're in the wrong market here. Everyone's selling dill pickle beers now, so I think that's
right.
Where,
okay, yeah. I didn't know that. I need to come back to the US and see what you guys are up to.
Dill pickle beer. That's what you need to drink now. That's been the thing of this year.
Yeah. And so what do they do? Just put that in the fermenter or in the conditioning tank, or?
I would say a lot of it. Sadly, a lot of it's extract.
Okay. Yeah. I try and avoid extract as much as possible, but
we don't use it at all here.
Yeah.
I just don't think you get the same complexity and depth of flavor at all.
Yeah. Things about cucumber, it's weird. It's one of those things again that's quite, you think it's quite subtle, but it's not. It doesn't take much for the threshold for you to taste cucumber.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Like if you have a pint of beer and you just get a slice of cucumber and you just dip it in and pull it out, you'll taste cucumber in that beer. As when you're eating a cucumber, you tend to think it's a little bit bland, but there's some flavour compound in there that's got a very low threshold.
Yeah, that's one that I have not played with here is cucumber at all. But I have played prior, place where I brewed prior. We did, again, another different Saison, cucumber Saison, where that kind of really played into that. Like the esters and that really matched.
Yeah. We've got a Saison coming up soon, which I'm debating whether to do it straight or to try something a bit different with it. Because I think my friend of mine was mentioning that Dogfish brewed one once that had was it parsley, sage, and rosemary in it? I can't remember.
Yeah, so that was 2010, and that was Victory, Dogfish, and Stone brewed Saison de Buff.
That was the one, yeah.
Yep, and that was lovely. From what I remember, that was a great beer, but I think it was 2010.
Yeah, the Saison really does seem to lend itself to playing
herbaceous.
Yeah.
The herbs you can add are just incredible for that one.
Yeah. We did one with Firestone that was really good as well, and we added, but it's still that whole thing about the threshold being so that it's perceivable but not over the top. I think they had cumin and star anise in that one, and maybe some coriander. I can't remember, but that was a good beer as well.
That's fun.
Yeah. But most of our cask beer I would probably say is quite traditional. We do the odd, like I say, that Y one, and we might do some Cocoa Wonderland, things like that. We've done, we do a bit, but we do so many beers I can just never remember what we've brewed in the past.
And that's kind of what one of the things I was like when I was looking at. I don't think I realized the extent of the range that you guys have brewed. It is
Yeah,
a massive amount of beers. There's almost a, I don't know another word for it, but almost like an American craft beer element to that.
yeah, it's a bit like Cigar City sometimes when I look at the
Yeah.
amount of beers that we do because they do a lot of beers. But it's good fun for the brewing team because although half of me kind of like wants to just make like one beer like they do in Bavaria or like a wheat beer or just the Helles, but you get bored just doing that. So, and I think the
I
rest of the brewers,
really do get that dichotomy there because I think that all the time. Like, wow, we have a pale ale that's our number one seller, and I'm like, I
yeah,
kind of wish like I would just sometimes brew that one for a few months to make it exactly what I want it to
dial
be.
it in, yeah, exactly. And I think that's why the Germans always excel because they just tend to brew just one or two styles and that's it, and they've got all the time in the world. As when you're sort of managing a hectic production plan and you're doing collabs and you
A
know
thousand ingredients as well.
that, yeah, it makes life a little bit more challenging, but fun as well to an extent.
Yeah, the only time I experienced that, I was in the distilling world for a little bit, and we were making bourbon and rye. And it would be like
Uh-huh.
1 month we made bourbon, 1 month we made rye. And that was a really interesting kind of thing of like, and it operated 24 hours a day. So you knew what the schedule was out for a month. You're like, we make this one thing for the next month.
Yeah,
And it really let you dive into the minutia of like every little bit on producing that product.
yeah. I mean, saying that, well, at least we have our three main brands, so we do get to make sure that they're where they should be, and I'm always playing with those as well and trying different things. But
What's
um,
the volume of the three main brands compared to the rest of the portfolio, like percentage wise?
I'd have to look at a spreadsheet, but I can't. It changes all the time. But Jaipur's up there for sure. As you know, when I look at the pie chart, it's probably a good, not far off, like 50%, I guess.
Okay,
And
so
then
yeah, so that's significant. Yeah.
yeah, and then you've got Lucas, which is our lager, and Green Mountain, which is our hazy IPA, hazy sort of East Coast Pale Ale.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more. There was a bit of a challenge brewing that. Like I knew sales and marketing knew that style was on the rise, and I was kind of I don't really want to be brewing that kind of beer. It's not fit for small pack. It's more of a brew pub style because it's so fresh and so sensitive to oxidation.
And you
Uh,
want it to sell quickly.
Yeah, and there's when it goes into small packs. So we really worked hard on that as a brewing team, and we came up with this beer Green Mountain, which has been a huge success for us, and that has got Citra and Mosaic in it. So,
Of
but
course it does. It's a hazy IPA. It
yeah,
has to.
yeah,
Yeah.
certain people love it, So, who am I to tell them what to drink? But and it's been a successful style. We know that across
I'm
the
always in the kind of mindset of you don't always get to brew what you want to drink.
absolutely, yeah. Otherwise, if we were just brewing what I want to drink, I don't think we'd be a successful brewery that we are today. We'd just be brewing lager and wheat beer probably. But yeah. But I did it. But no, I wouldn't. I'd definitely brew the cask beer as well for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of our cask beer.
Yeah,
And
we're finding here that I've said before now is that the more I kind of lean into the things that I want at our size because we're very small, it seems to be what's selling better because we're not trying to sell in grocery or anything like that,
yeah,
which is really nice for our size. And I think we're in a unique position at where we're at now that we're not trying to chase those things, and so that's a nice spot for us.
yeah. So what would you say your sort of top selling beers are?
It's one and two is because they're the only two beers that are on tap 99% of the time.
Yeah.
It's a 4.8% classic American Pale
Hmm.
and a 4.2% Belgian Blonde.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the pale ale, what what what's different about that, and what hops go into it? And
It's 100% whole cone Cascade.
okay, brilliant. That sounds
Yep.
like my kind of beer. Yeah.
Yeah. 100% whole cone Cascade. Nice and easy. Really nice malt character to it. Like a real bready malt character that goes into
Hmm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Any dry hop, or is it all just in hot
Oh,
side?
no. Heavy dry hop on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, heavy dry hop, and it's just a really nice, lovely. It's almost kind of the way it was pictured was
Mm.
if Sierra Nevada was created in the East Coast.
And when you say hot, and it's dry hop with whole cone as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big difference. You know, when you taste beers that are dry hopped, vast majority of beers I would guess are dry hopped with T90.
Oh, I think most of them. Yeah, yeah.
It's got a. I mean, do you remember about how Stone used to taste like in the early days? It's definitely got that certain flavor profile, which
Hmm.
I think you've got, and that's come from the processing of the hop as well. It's very different when you dry hop with a whole cone.
I think so, and I think there's something that you lose an element every time you reprocess something.
Yeah, I
So if
agree.
you go from whole cone to like draw to a T90 pellet, you lose
Hmm.
something that transition. And I think it'll be even more interesting to see now, do we lose something going to all the hop products?
Yeah, I see. I'm not a big fan of these hop products. We've
I'm not either, but they're being pushed so much. Obviously, I'm using whole cone, so that's.
yeah.
But yeah, they're being pushed so much, and I haven't tried a whole lot with a lot of them, but they're making big waves in the industry as far as the big IPA producers and even those hoppy lager producers. They're figuring out every which way to add them. They're even adding some of the like the flowable products to fermenter as you're like transferring.
But do you think that the reason that they're developing these products is more of because brewers want them, or do you think it's the tail wagging the dog and they've got excess hops and that
I
they're
think
just
it started as excess hops, and now I think they're
yeah,
getting it. It's efficiency now too.
yeah,
I think you're getting your efficiency and utilization is getting really strong out of using flowable products that you don't have anything that takes up space in the fermenter. You get less waste out of it. So I think that's really pushing it too, not just the
mm,
excess hops is brewers saying I can get an extra 3-4% yield out of this batch.
yeah,
And I'm worried that we're gonna exchange yield for flavor.
yeah. And the problem is with whole cone that we find is you've really got to commit to your forecast because most hops get processed into something else. So you need to be, and it's difficult, with producing so many brands and a market that's still not really sort of settled down in terms of predictability. What you're going to be brewing that year. So you need to sort of make a call on. I think we're going to be brewing, X amount of hectoliters of Jaipur, and then you've got all these other brands as well that use hops from there. So actual hop forecasting and contracting is quite a challenge when you're just using whole cone.
Oh, it's next to impossible, I think. It really
Yeah,
is. And it
yeah,
takes so much space.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we do use a bit of T90, but that's just we've gone away. We dry hop some of the beers, but we're not. I think you can get more out of the hot side. Um, and my issue with dry hopping is I think it's so susceptible to oxidation because it's not seeing any heat. And although
Oh
the
yeah.
beers can taste really good, like that first sort of month, I think they deteriorate faster than beers that have all the hop's gone in the hot side.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'd like someone to do a study into it and look into that, like a scientific study, but maybe that's just my gut feel. But there's a reason why all those sort of East Coast hazes are the ones that used to see on Twitter that were like brown and oxidized. It's
Oh
because
yeah. And I think now they're investing a lot in technology to try and stop that, but I still don't think it
yeah,
works.
no, no,
It's the
no,
shelf life is very different. And it's interesting. I heard somebody at one point, I don't know who it was, talk about that you should treat a New England IPA almost like a cask and that it has to be drank fresh.
yeah, I would agree on that. That'd be what I would think. Like particularly those really heavily hot ones.
Yep.
Um,
And we're trying to put a longer shelf life on it and it gets traded across the country and maybe less
yeah,
now than it was a few years ago, but still I think it's one of those ones that really should be drank almost closer to the source.
yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Um, I mean, our cask beer we do prime quite heavily. That's something that does protect it to an extent, but it's still a beer that needs to be drunk fresh.
Yeah. So the next kind of little piece that I have is, so I think more than most places, I think in the kind of probably the world at this point, Thornbridge has 1 foot in traditional, 1 foot in modern, better than most. Because you see a lot of the traditional breweries trying to do modern things and it feels a bit clunky.
Bit dad dancing kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think you guys have done that really well. And I think the fact that you guys have now the union
Mm.
showcases that in a really fun way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how we've sort of whether it's something that we've really intentionally set out to do to have a foot in like traditional and modern, or it's just kind of just happened that way. But because there's an input from sort of the sales and marketing guys and the brewers. It's not like a sales and market driving everything or the
Right.
brewers driving everything. We have a meeting sort of once, a couple of meetings a week where we try and get sales and marketing production together, and we sort of bash things out and brainstorm and come up with ideas. But yeah, the union's definitely been. It was a challenge for sure, but I think it's been fantastic for us in terms of just adding. I think saving a piece of brewing kit that's got so much heritage and history there is one thing, but also in terms of just being able to get people interested and engaged with Thornbridge, and it's just another feather in our cap. The collabs we've done, it's been great. Like I say, it was very challenging and a bit worrying for me as the head brewer when we started going down that path, but for sure, it's overall it's been a great idea and a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, like, I think looking at it, there's so many inherent risks with it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because
Yeah.
when the guys were saying, "Would you want to take this union?" I was thinking, "Oh,
I
I need
want
to
to put
be."
it in a museum, but do I want to brew with it?
Yeah, I was like, "I need to be clear here. This might not work. I need to be really, really clear that I know you guys think it's going to be a good idea, but like you say, the inherent risk, things, the oxygen in there, the microbiological risks, the maintenance of the barrels, just the amount of work to clean them. It's not straightforward, and you have to brew into them all the time to keep the wood wet. So
And that was one of the things I was going to say is the
yeah,
fact that you've kept up a production schedule enough
mm,
to keep it filled so they don't dry out and there isn't the risk of as much micro. Like that's a lot of planning on that, and it also
yeah,
goes to show that it's selling.
it is selling. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do brew into them constantly. Otherwise, they'd dry out, and I think it'd be. I'm not sure what we'd do if they dried out and cracked. So when we are in touch with the Cooper, uh, but who used to work there, but he's sort of retired now. So how long he'd want to sort of help us out if we need help, I don't know.
It's not like that's a booming trade anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
So when you try a beer off of it, because you guys have done the same beer,
yeah.
so like Jaipur has been on the Union now.
Hmm.
How do you find like what is it adding to the equation?
I would say it's the same but different when you look at a beer like, say, Jaipur, for example. Any sort of fermentation, when you make any change, it's the fermentation parameters that you're changing more than anything. You brew in a different sort of geometry, a vessel with a different geometry, it's going to give you a different flavor profile, and that's what
Yep.
we're getting there. Really, you fermented in these barrels that is recirculating all the time. So, I mean, I can't really put my finger on why it tastes different, but there is, and it's not an unpleasant difference. It's just the same but different, really.
And I think there's something to be said for that. So two of my cylinder conicals I had custom made at a really low cone angle to
Hmm.
change the hydrostatic pressure so we can push esters a little bit more. So
Yeah,
all my Belgian ones are brewed in that. And can I tell you exactly why it's better? I can't, but I know it's
no,
better.
yeah. So
No.
what, the cone's just not as steep? Is that what you're
Yeah, so it's
saying?
not a 60, it's a really low angle. It's at like a 30.
So you get to crop, but it's just a bit more work. But you get,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And it really does like the any Belgian, any Saison, and even a lot of the English stuff that I'm trying to push, like ester character out of it is
Mm,
I think far better on those ones.
yeah. What strain of yeast do you use for that then? For the Belgian?
For the Belgian one, so the Belgian blonde that I do is the Le Chouffe strain.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah. And it's
yeah.
kind of was that beer was kind of originally meant to be as if they created a low ABV version of that beer. because I love that beer, but it's, 8% or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I wish they made a 4% version of it. So that strain in that one really pushes that.
Yeah. No, it's a lovely. I do love Belgian beers. They're nice. I still can't believe Allagash has made that much success just out of brewing like Belgian beer as their main.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think they've just become, I'm sure if you look up like Belgian white or wit beer, they're now the thing that shows up first.
Well, yeah, I can well imagine. Yeah.
And when you're the one of one that produces something to that level, it's an interesting thing.
And it always tastes consistent as well. I never detect, whenever I try that beer, I never think it tastes different to the last time I tried it.
No, it doesn't. The consistency is incredible on that one. It's one of those ones, like I said, like a Thornbridge type thing where they have that QCQA first.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to put that first. And I think that's one of the things that, like I said, I'm a one-man operation that I put those things first because my customers expect my pale ale to taste like my pale ale every time they get it. I don't want that variability in it. I don't want people to say, oh, this is a different beer. What was the last one? Why was it different? I don't want that out of it. I want it to be the same experience.
I mean, people are always going to say that. I mean, we still get that people say Jaipur's not the same as it used to be, which, well, I know it's not true because I look at the brew sheets and I know, so I know, but people will often say that things are different than they used to be. But you don't want to be like actively trying to make beer taste different to how it used to be. Yeah. Unless it was a terrible beer, but yeah.
If that's the case, then scrap it. Start fresh.
Yeah.
So for me, it's often things outside of beer and outside of brewing and the industry that kind of get ideas going for me, whether it's a creative idea on a new recipe or if it's an idea for, labeled package or whatever the case may be, or even process for me on the beer side. What are the kind of things for you that get your mind going on being able to think of new or to improve?
Could you give me an example of that? How do you mean that?
Yeah, like so for me, it's almost always like I'm out doing something else. Like I'm usually out walking my dog.
Okay.
Yeah, like I can't be in the act of brewing to come up with new ideas.
Yeah, I always think it is to do with like exercise for sure. Where that's when I come up with my ideas. Yeah, I'll be usually running or something like that, or going for a walk, or that's generally it. I don't know. The mind works differently. I think when you're exercising, it's just got time to sort of filter out all the crap that's going on.
I think so.
Come up with ideas, and then you can write without a doubt. Yeah, and I can see that if you're walking your dog, that you're exercising out there, and you've got time to sort of ponder about other things rather than just all the influx of everything else around you.
Yeah, and that's to me one of those things that if I don't give myself that time, I think I'm a worse brewer.
Yeah,
because I'm not thinking of how to make my beer better.
Yeah. I mean, I came back after Christmas and I had quite a few ideas to talk to my guys about that I'd thought about over Christmas as well. We were looking at the malt for Lucas, and then how I was tasting some Jaipur that was older than others, and how we could sort of increase freshness and things like that. And then the way cask beer is served in some of our pubs. So there's always dry hopping, things like that. I think that's important as a head brewer and a brewery that's successful, is that you're always wanting to improve and come up with new ideas. Just to rest on your laurels and just do things as you've always been doing is not always the best route, I don't think.
Could not agree more. Yeah. So is there something, you've been in the industry for a while now, is there something that you haven't done that you want to do? Could be a trip, it could be a beer, it could be, then is there something that you haven't done yet?
I'm trying to think. I'd love to spend like maybe a year working in like Matt Brindleson, he took a sabbatical out and had a year working at Duval.
Yep.
Something like that would be a great experience, I think, where you could really get your teeth into another beer style, or another brewery and just learn it inside out and get it dialed in rather than just sort of a fleeting visit.
Yeah, and enough time to really look at the minutia of what makes that beer that beer.
Yeah,
Yeah, you need to almost be there long enough to get a little bored to dig into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would like to revisit America again and see how things have changed, but like since I last went, that would be interesting. So I think you guys make some awesome beers. I've done the German bit. I'm not sure where else in the world that I'd really want to go to for beer.
Fair, yeah. I mean, we do a good range here. Like, there's obviously great beer produced here, and it's such a huge place that, you know, like for me, I want to go to even regions of the U.S. It's hard to pick one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, where would you say in the US would you want to go and see that you haven't been, or?
I would almost want to do. I haven't been to the Pacific Northwest in a while.
Right.
I want to go back there and see what's happening there now, that because I last time I was there, it was 2012, and that's before New England IPA. It was a lot of what they were calling Pacific Northwest IPA, which was kind of crystal malt West Coast beer.
Okay.
And it was very different. So I'd like to see where that market's at now.
Yeah.
And I think that would be maybe my number one that I'd like to go back to see where it's at.
Yeah. And so you and Pilsner's the sort of the one that seems to be more popular just across the board, really.
Yeah, Pilsners and anything just labeled lager is flying right now.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely flying, and in every variation of it. The only kind of problem I have right now is that you don't know if there's 1,000 things labeled lager, and you don't know, is that going to be hoppy or not hoppy? That could be a lager with Citra.
Yeah,
and that could be not the expectation that I'm looking for. So and I think that's where like the West Coast lager or West Coast Pils and the New Zealand Pils and all those things are coming in a little bit more, where at least we're giving an expectation of what the drinker should be having.
Yeah. Okay.
Where if they weren't so popular now, we wouldn't have 90 different style variants. Like even cold IPA, I think it's essentially a West Coast Pils at this point in time. It's another way of saying a easy drinking hoppy beer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Is there anything that you would like to see more of in the industry, like specifically for you there with, say, wherever you're drinking, your local or not, or anywhere at all? What would you like to see more of in the industry?
I think it's disappointing when you go to pubs and there isn't beers that I want to drink. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see better beer. You know, whether it's cask or keg, just all over available in more pubs. That would be what I'd want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Living in New Hampshire, there's we do not have like great beer bars here.
Yeah.
We don't have spaces that have an incredible tap list, fun things I want to drink, and it's a little sad for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I went like fishing with my boy the other day, and we went to, there was a pub nearby after by the river, and we went there, and it just didn't have any beers that I wanted to drink, and I was just thinking it would have been made the day so much better if I'd tuck into a decent cask beer at the end of it.
Now, are there places like that don't even have like a decent bottle or can selection? Like they just have nothing?
Yeah, there is for sure.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, typically here you can find, most places here, especially in New England, most places have Allagash White in a bottle behind the bar.
Yeah, well, you see, I would be more than happy with that. If I was Allagash White available, like in every sort of pub that I walked into in the UK.
And that's where like I have no room to complain because I always have that.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have that in some pubs, so it's a shame, really, isn't it? But I don't think everyone thinks like brewers, do they? That's the problem. Like you can be insular as a brewer. For some people, they'll walk into a pub and that won't be a problem for them.
Right. Yeah. That's a reasonable complaint, though. That's a very
Yeah. I think that's what else. Is there anything else really? Just beer brew, just beer, better beer, more widely available. That's what I'd like to say.
Yeah, and now, do you think that's a thing that consumers want across the pubs there? Like, do you think there's a hope for that as the ask is there, or do you think the pubs are like, we're making enough now? Because I feel like pubs are not doing great.
They're not. No,
so what would be the risk in bringing in even like bottle or can of Jaipur and having that behind the bar?
I think some of the pubs wouldn't be allowed to do that because they're tied to
Oh,
whichever
yeah,
brewery or pub group owns
sure.
them. That it wouldn't be possible to do that. So yeah, but I don't really know enough about the pub industry to say whether what's stopping them. But I personally think it would make a better experience for everyone if there was just better beer on the bar, everywhere.
That's understandable. And like to kind of wrap things up, what do you think is the happy note, the bright note you see on the industry now? What do you like that you see happening?
I like the fact that our cask beer is in rude growth. I think it's steaming ahead, and it's very unique to well, it is unique to Britain. So to see that in growth and people demanding it. I mean, I went into our flagship pub in Sheffield, the Fargate, just before Christmas, and the bar was 6, 7 deep with people, and the beer was so fresh and so carbonated with because we all prime all our beers, which is
Yeah, yeah.
don't do that. So we add um, fresh sugar just as we pack. So it's re-fermenting. So 90% cask beers, you'll see it is flat.
And all the cask beer for me, like, because I went to Brew Lab, everything was primed. I didn't know initially that people didn't prime.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. They won't
Yeah.
do it. They feel that it's a pain. And this beer was fogging so much that they had to take the sparklers off. That was being pulled that fast, but that made the beer so so much.
If you don't need the sparkler, great.
Yeah. So that's what I'm positive about.
Well, I love that. And Rob, thanks so much for having this conversation with me.
No,
Thanks for
thank you.
talking. This has been great.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely brilliant to talk to you, Devin. Yeah.
Rob will be back on the next episode of the show as the host, having a conversation with the brewer of his choosing. That will be on air next week, so make sure you tune in for that. A reminder, visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media All About Beer to support journalism in the beer space. Check out allaboutbeer.com/support. I'm Devin Bush of Wild Bloom Beer. Thanks for listening to the Brewer to Brewer podcast.
StompStickers.com is brewed for budget-conscious brewers. From automatic version discounts to loyalty program that earns you points across all of their product lines, every order works harder for your bottom line. Want even more ways to save? Sign up for their emails and get regular coupon codes delivered straight to your inbox. Try StompStickers.com today and save 15% with code FIRSTRUN. Golden honey, sweetbread, cereal grains, slightly nutty with subtle flavors and aromas of hay. Rahr North Star Pils is a beautiful base malt for any beer style, but it shines particularly bright in classic lagers like Rev Pils from Revolution Brewing out of Chicago, Illinois. North Star Pils also plays a role in award-winning West Coast Pilsners and Imperial IPAs for Ghost Town Brewing in Oakland, California. RahrBSG has the goods. Learn more at RahrBSG.com.